In this episode of the Chateau Capers, it's just one damn roof trouble after another. I get a little dirty by the fire. Jane plays a Yeti in the Nativity, and we have a mini mountain adventure. But first, I'm up in the Rafters of our lounge. It's a high-ceilinged room with these beautiful old beams, which at various stages in their life have had a lot of woodworm and things. But as far as I know, they're free of that now. Anyway, we have two sets of lights in here. And they are this type of light, these string lights or whatever you call them. Cable lights. Anyway, they've both stopped working. One of them just suddenly stopped working a while ago, so we were down to one. And with all the other things that we're doing in the chateau, I've not really had time to look into it. The other week, I started smelling a funny smell in the room. And for a little while, I was thinking, I recognise the smell, but I don't know what it is. And then I remembered that it was the smell of burning circuitry and wires and things like that. And the light was still working. So I got the ladders and I came up and I had a look. And I will show you what I found. And this is what I found. The wire has burnt out and snapped. And these are the two boxes, these are two control boxes for each of the strings of lights. If I pull it out, they were both overheated and and starting to brown and burn up. So one of them didn't make a smell, or I didn't notice a smell, and one of them has. And it's lucky that it did, because this could have started a fire, because, you know, occasionally you leave a room and you leave a light on and you wander off and you forget that you've left a light on. We could have done that. This could have started. It's bone dry, this wood. And if this had started a fire, that would have been it. The chateau would have burnt down. After dodging a fiery disaster, I skipped up the ladder like a mountain goat to wire in the new light. My original plan was to reuse the cables that the light's attached to, but it turned out to be the wrong size, so I had to dismantle it completely. Unbeknownst to me at the time, my left leg was standing on a severely weakened beam, so I carried on blissfully unaware. I knew that the beam had suffered badly over the years, as is evident just by looking at it. It's also had vertical supports added to help it maintain its integrity, one of which seems to be barely holding. I imagine that once upon a time this roof structure was hidden inside a damp attic space, which is how the woodworm damage first started. It was a great idea to open up the roof space. Not only has it probably saved the beams from much more damage, but also they look great. I don't usually mind taking a risk, but in hindsight I can't stress how dodgy it was to stand on that beam. It turns out that unravelling 5 metres of cable up a ladder without it getting knotted isn't one of my superpowers. At several times during the installation I put my full weight on the weak beam, but in my defence, I didn't know it could give way at any moment. One of the more frustrating things about working up a ladder with small fiddly fittings and Allen keys is the frequency with which I would drop them and have to climb down to find them. Impending roof collapse aside, the light installation was going really well. With one of the 5 spotlights fitted, I just needed to wire in the transformer and test it. Spoiler alert, that will be when I notice how dangerous the beam is. Welcome to Jane's Find of the Day with Jane.
Hello and welcome to this week's Find of the Day at Chateau de Pican. Today I am dressed as a snowball, as befits the wintertime in a rather cool chateau. Behind me is a very elaborate nativity creche It's really heavy, so I decided not to move it. We are currently in what I think was a sort of craft room, and there's a lot of Christmas things in here. For example, inside this box are loads and loads of candles and little cherubs, of course. There's a whole box of them. Anyway, there are many other Christmassy things in here, but today it's the crash. The amount of detail that's gone into this is pretty incredible. It's sort of rough on the inside, it's got different textures of wood and little slates and all kinds of intricate details. So it's quite something. So these have been carefully packed away, and I have found where they came from, and I'll tell you a bit more about that a bit later on. But suffice it to say, they're quite special. So what have we got? We have got a sheep and a lamb. I have some accoutrements in here. While you're in your stable, you might need to do some washing. Here we have some Bavarian figures. Now, to me, they don't say Nativity, but the company that made these figures has a number of different styles of figure that they produce, and they do have a whole range wearing Bavarian costumes. So this is an example of those. So we'll put the Bavarians on one side. Ooh, so we've got a little wagon. One of the three kings, wearing a rather splendid velvet cloak, and I guess, is he the bringer of gold? Aha! And we've got the baby Jesus in a manger. Ooh, we've got another king. Okay, maybe he's got frankincense or myrrh, and he's got these lovely turned up pointed shoes. He's got a lined velvet cloak. He's magnificent. Okay, so this is Mary. There she is. She is going to be looking after Jesus. Now, I'm not sure whether this is a shepherd or if this is Joseph. We'll see what else we find. But then I guess he's more from the Bavarian theme. A lovely cow. Okay, got another sheep. Okay, so do we think this one is Joseph? Yes, I think so, because he's leaning forward. He's also looking at the crib, I think. Oh wow, this is extraordinary. Oh my goodness. Look at this. He's covered in useful goods and presents. Nice warm clothes and bedding and things. He's really beautiful. So he's made out of wood. Okay, so there doesn't seem to be room for him just now. It's quite a busy crash. Lots going on. Of course, the third king. And if we've already got frankincense, then this is myrrh, or vice versa. He's got some very jazzy trousers, and they've all got amazing headdresses on. He's got earrings as well. Incredible attention to detail. Ooh, I've got a tree, Christmas tree, and then I've got one last figure. Oh, and it's the donkey. Of course, the donkey. So that's pretty amazing. Come back in a moment and I'll tell you a bit more.
This is the fireplace in the kitchen, and it's our main source of heat through the day, because we spend a lot of time in the kitchen with the dogs, and so we can normally get this room quite warm. However, aside from being a bit mucky because I haven't cleaned it in a few days, the glass is broken. So Jane's not very happy with a part of the glass being broken. She's worried that more of it could break. So we've ordered a new piece of glass, which has arrived. And so because the fire's not on, I'm going to try and replace the glass. Now it should be straightforward. You pull off the old rope seal, you take out the screws, take the glass out, put the glass in, screw it all back together, put new rope seal in. However, I've just taken the rope seal off and the screws are a little bit rusted, so I want to be a little bit careful because I'm worried about the heads of the screws shearing off. So I've decided I'm going to take this off so I can lift the door off, and then I can try and get a bit more pressure on the screws as I'm undoing them and get a better look at them, hopefully. Et voila! And it was only the corner of it that was broken, so I personally wasn't terribly worried, but Jane was. So this should at least put her mind at rest. Buying the glass, they supplied us with new rope seal, but it was only to do this edge where the glass sits against the metal. What they haven't done is provided any of the thick rope seal that I needed to put on top of that in the little brackets that hold the glass in place, which is arguably more important because I had to rip this one out completely just to get at the screws. So I am going to have to take this bracket off as well because I need to replace the rope seal, which is underneath, which is a shame. I was hoping I didn't have to. I'm just going to hope these screws come undone.
Our lovely friend Karina took us on a short drive to a very special location, to the chapel of Saint-Élix-Thieu. As planned, we arrived just before sunset to see a magnificent panorama of the Pyrenees as the sky turned pink and gold. Though not quite as ravishing, this was the view from our bedroom window the next morning.
That's where we're headed this morning. That big dip in the mountain range there. We're heading south towards that, and then we carry on up the mountains.
After an 80-minute drive, we arrive at Loudonvielle and take a cable car up to Peyragudes.
Are you excited about our first skiing trip since we've become Chateau owners?
I am excited. Didn't take very long to get here. We went from the verdant valley and now we're up in the mountains and it's all snowy and Christmassy.
Say hello, Jane.
Hello, Jane. Hello, Rory.
It's actually remarkably warm on the ski lift. The wind's quite pleasant.
Mind you, we have got thermals on.
True. And all the French people are having lunch because it's lunchtime. So there's probably about 5 people on the ski lift entirely. yeah, the only people we've seen come down the hill so far, or the mountain, or the piste, are instructors.
So we've got the whole mountain to ourselves.
Look, so trying to show you the piece behind us. Look, nobody on it. I'm sure it'll get busier in a minute.
But we're before school holidays.
Yes, we won't be here at school holidays.
Yeah, so we knew it was going to be quiet, and it's also the very start of the season. It's only just opened. And we're very lucky because it's a work day. Most people have to go to work today.
Exciting! Beyond enjoying a lovely day out, we're scouting local attractions to recommend to future guests at the Chateau. Whilst it's unlikely we'll have paying guests that come to ski, this resort also has a spa and many summer activities, including a mountain bike course.
We've done 2 pistes, so obviously it's time for lunch. As it was our first day of skiing this winter, we took it easy as we refound our mountain legs. We were soon heading back down the mountain towards this beautiful lake, which had a small flotilla of pedalos waiting for the summer.
How was that?
It was warm and wonderful.
That's what people normally say about skiing trips.
Well, it is warm. You get very warm doing it with all these clothes on.
It may have been a better idea to put some paper down or something to collect the soot as I scrape it off the frame, but I haven't. If you don't tell Jane, I won't. This is the new piece of glass, and there's a sticker on it which is in French. So I just need to translate that because it dictates which side faces the flame and which side faces out. Right, so the sticker says that faces the flame. I'm sure this tablecloth was due a wash anyway. The door goes back on. And that's the glass repair complete. Now I just need to make this look a little tidy before Jane finds out. Jane bought this wonderful fireside set. I love it. It goes perfectly here in the kitchen. And what's great is the knight's halberd is the fire poker. The moment that perhaps none of you have been waiting for.
So here is the final nativity scene. The gentleman in brown is Joseph. He is in Bavarian costume, so we have a Bavarian Holy Family. I should have realised that the reason the other figure is sort of falling over is because he's the shepherd who doesn't quite fit in the stable, and so he's peeping through at the back. And I believe this Bavarian couple, certainly I think he is a shepherd as well. Then we've got the three kings in Oriental style. The camel
has clearly come from the Orient as well. And then we've got, I guess they could be either Bavarian or Oriental. The cow and the donkey's right at the back. Can't you see the donkey? A bit dark. So in terms of where these came from, there's a company called Geschenke Leopold in Bonn, and they have been making these figures since 1896. So these could have been made at any time. They're probably, my guess would be 30 years old, but they've looked the same throughout all that period when the chateau was still young. And in addition to that, the designs, so the aesthetics, the costumes and the style was created by, I understand, Lang, dates back from 1775. So this is an aesthetic, an image, a design, a nativity scene that dates back to the 18th century. The figures themselves, their hands and feet and heads are made of wood. They're hand painted and their limbs are wired together, and then they are very elaborately apparelled, as you can see, with their costumes. These are very high quality figures, and you can still buy them. They're still being made exactly like this. And if you were to buy just one of the kings, it would cost you 200 euros. The most expensive item I've seen in the catalogue is the camel. And the camel will cost you 300 euros. So you can see that these are very, very high quality pieces. The stable may also have been made by the same company, in which case I have no idea how much that would have cost. So we are incredibly lucky to have this beautiful nativity. Merry Christmas.
Meanwhile, I was still struggling with disasters in the rafters. With the ladder now leaning against the beam and my weight pushing it out of its socket, I heard a creak. This was the crap moment, as I realised I could move the beam by hand. I think you can just about see the mild panic in my face. Even with gentle pushing and pulling, it was easy to move the beam in and out. I think part of the main beam has been eaten away, allowing the securing dowel to break free. The result? Squeaky bum time. However, I was up there to install a light, damn it, and install a light I would do. And now to test it. At least I got my wiring right. All that remained to do was nervously fit the rest of the lights. With the light now fully working, I'd at least be able to see the beam collapse. So, in order to stop the roof from completely collapsing in the near future, we're going to have to do something rather urgently up there. So what I'll do initially, I think I'll try and ratchet strap the beam back into position. And then after that, because of the damage, it's not easy just to push it back in and replace the wooden dowel that holds it in place. Because I don't think there's enough wood left on either side to make that a strong repair. So I'll probably try and drill all the way through both, and bearing in mind I don't have the right drill bit for that, probably a long auger bit or something. I don't have it. I have to drill through and then fit a steel rod through there and tighten it up, and that should hold it together. I think that's what they would normally do. So that's what we're going to have to do before the roof collapses. I can but hope this works. It was working! I was so relieved to see it start to ratchet back into place. So it seems like the beam itself has slightly twisted over the years. And so it's almost back to touching the main beam at the bottom. There's still a bit of a gap, but it's about a centimetre or so. But at the top, it's much more like an inch. And so I may never get them, may never get it to twist back into place. But if I can get it at least that far, maybe with a little bit of persuading with something larger and heavier. I might be able to knock it a tiny bit further in, and then I'll try and drill through and affix a steel rod to hold it in place. But I'll leave it at that for now. It should be okay. They say bad things come in threes. With an electrical fire avoided and damaged beam secured, I didn't have to wait too long. You can imagine my delight when this started happening. Same gosh darned roof, same gosh darned room. We now had an issue with the roof tiles. There was only one thing I could do. Wait for drier weather, strap on my jet boots and go and have a look. It didn't take long to find the problem. One tile has slid out completely. I counted 6 or 7 that were also trying to join the party. Frustratingly, this might be a job for a cherry picker. Frustrating because I don't have one. A problem for another day. If you've enjoyed this video, please consider hitting that like button, subscribing and checking out some of our other videos.